Do you find yourself constantly thinking about how to market your pet photography business? Yeah, me too. And I've seen all of you ask this question here on YouTube, in the Pro Pet Photog Facebook group, in my one-to-one meetings. And I've asked this question of myself. How do we market our pet photography business? And this is on our minds all the time because, of course, marketing is meant to bring in those clients so we can grow our business. But oftentimes we feel like, oh my gosh, I've tried everything, or I only know how to do two things and it's not generating clients. What do I do? I've given this some thought, and today what I want to do is give you my 20+ rapid fire ideas that most of you can do now to start generating that buzz and potentially bring in clients to your pet photography studio. I have broken it down into 4 categories. We're going to talk about digital, which I think a lot of us is the first thing we think about. Physical, which is probably the second thing we think about. Thirdly is outreach and collabs. This is where your volunteering comes in. And fourthly, what photographers don't often think about is prospecting, individual prospecting. All right, I want to go into all of this, but I need to head out and do a couple of errands, so come with me, and then we'll meet up again at the studio. All right, welcome to the studio, and thanks for going along with me on those errands. Where were we? All right, we were talking about my 4 areas of marketing for my studio. I do want to let you know that this is going to be a quick rundown of all those ideas. I am creating a mini course on more ideas from this, a breakdown of each one of these, and templates that you can use in Canva. So a few more use case ideas, and that course should come out in about November of 2021. And if it's already out, there's a link in the description. If it's not out yet, be sure to get on the email list, also in the description, so you know when it's released over on propetphotog.com. Okay. Let's move over to the whiteboard. Let's start with physical, okay? So before I write these, can you guess what some of them might be? Now, keeping in mind that marketing is keeping your name out there. You want people to see you all over town. You want to be able to ask them, where did you hear about my studio? And they'll be like, gee, you were kind of everywhere. I probably saw this card over here, or this flyer over here, or something online. You want them to have seen you everywhere. So this is how we do that. I don't know if these numbers are still correct, but it used to be you need 7 touches. People need to hear about your studio 7 times before they ever take any kind of action. All right, so do as many of these as you can. Some are free, some aren't. Okay, physical. What are some of the things you can think of? I got the first one. Business cards. I like mine, they're 2-sided. They probably need to be updated at this point, but it's really basic. Yeah, because I have a new logo. Has a picture of me, my logo, my contact information. Super important. I did take space on the back side to have several little images. You could do one hero image. There's all kinds of ways to do your business cards. I like the 2-sided with basic information. The next one is rack cards, R-A-C-K. Now, when I've mentioned rat cards in our YouTube lives, people say rat cards? No. Rack. So they're like a brochure, but just one page, no folds. Here's my old one. So it's like a bigger business card, right? And it goes in these holders. Here it is. So rat card is just 2-sided, and it goes in these plastic holders that can set on a counter or can hang on a wall. Rat card's number 2. Going along with that is brochures. That's just traditionally what you would think. I don't have brochures in my studio because I really prefer the rack cards. But a brochure is basically, think of a regular 8.5 by 11 piece of paper folded 3 times. So you have 6 panels to put your information. Those are a little more expensive to print. And I find I change my information too much. And it's just, for me, too much to hand to people. But it could be a great way to really show off your services and your photos. The next one, and physical, is local displays. So you saw on my errands, I went to a coffee shop, and that big display of photos were all my photos in that coffee shop. This is one of the more expensive ways to market, but it's been very effective. I've gotten several clients out of the displays I've had around town, from coffee shops to bakery to a pet boutique. I do have photos up in veterinary offices, but oftentimes people there are kind of stressed, so they don't call me usually from those places. They call me from coffee shops and boutiques and things like that. So think of all the different ways that you could display one picture or an entire group of pictures at a local business, not necessarily pet-based. I'll get into a little bit more of that in the course, but you get the idea. Next one is a sign. If you have a physical location like me, there is a spot on the outside of the building for a sign, and there's a sign right by my front door. If you plan on going to events and things, you're going to need some kind of a sign or banner. So consider what your logo and your information might look like on a sign, or obviously if you have a physical location, don't just do the sign on the outside of the building. Put one on your door and anywhere else you can close by. This one I love, and you saw this today as I went out and about too, is my car wrap and car vinyl stickers. I don't know really what they're called, but I'm going to put car wrap on here. Recently, my trusty old Subaru just completely stopped working, and so I got a new car. And in the few weeks that I did not have any of my studio information on there, it felt so naked. When I drove up to a location, I couldn't tell my clients, oh, look for the car with my studio information on it. And I have gotten neighbors that have walked by and called me because they saw my information on my car. People smile when they see the paw prints. You could go extreme on my Subaru. I just had it on the back hatch. On this car, I have it on all the sides as well. So whatever you're more comfortable with. Some people even just do those inexpensive magnets that you put on the outside of your car and then maybe take off when you're doing personal errands. It's up to you. I like having it on there all the time, my own traveling billboard. Another question or a suggestion I get a lot is flyers. Typically, I reserve flyers for a special event. So if I'm doing an event with a organization or open house someday, mini sessions, or flyers that I can put up at any of those places around town where the clients, my ideal clients, might see that and go, well, that would be interesting. I'd like to go to that. So a lot of times a flyer is just a regular piece of paper and you've written information about your studio and your event and signups. So flyers are a way to go if you're doing something special. How about this one? Shirts. I just had new shirts done. Yeah? I love wearing these when I make videos, when I'm out and about, when I'm at events. You can make it on t-shirts like this or polo shirts, however you want to do it. Usually I just have something small here. This is the first time I've done a big imprint on the back. So shirts are an awesome way to be a walking billboard. The last piece for my physical suggestions would be all those other printed pieces like swag. So in my studio, what I've done in the past is magnets. Here's one of them. I used to be at a lot of the 5Ks and events, probably 4 or 5 a year. I would have a booth, and I'd like to have a little something I can give away. At one point, I had a magnet a little smaller than this with a cutout in the middle that could be a magnet on their fridge. So they could slip in their picture of their pet and put it on their fridge and see your studio every time they pass it. So there's all kinds of things like that. Obviously, magnets, pens, USB drives, all kinds of things. What I want you to caution though is only get things that make sense. Don't just buy any old pen or any old magnet. Think about your studio, your brand, your look, what your clients would actually like. People don't like just gathering trinkety things. So keep that in mind. That is physical. The next category was digital. And this is where too many of us put all of our eggs in digital, and we wonder why nothing's happening with our studio. Digital is awesome, don't get me wrong, but if you are a location-based studio, you need to get out in your location somehow. So obviously with digital, we're thinking social media. For many photographers, this means Instagram and Facebook, perhaps TikTok, Pinterest, any of the socials. There's tons that we can say about social media. That's a whole separate video, but that is one way that you can market your business. It's free, it's easy. Really, you could saturate everybody with your social media marketing. The fact is, when you have a business page, 1% to 3%, I believe, of your followers even see your posts. So never think that you're posting too much. You could probably post 3 times a day and people might see a couple a week. So keep that in mind. Don't be shy about posting on your socials. The next one on the digital is blogs, yours and other people's. Now, blogs are great for SEO. Most people will tell you that, search engine optimization. This is where Google can look around at all the things on the internet and find yours because it said dog photography. Oh, it said dog photography Fort Collins. Hey, I think I'm going to catalog that. And next time somebody searches for it, I'm going to give them your studio. That's how blogs work. It's a great way to keep your website active, showcase your photos, use your writing skills, blogs. Now, you can also do a guest blog on someone else's blog. So maybe they can interview you, or you could reach out to a business in your area and say, hey, would your followers like to know 3 tips about pet photography with their phone? That kind of thing. And most of them will say, yes, please. Next one is your e-newsletters and like emails. Now, you probably know I have a Pro Pet Photog email list that's linked in the description. It's over on propetphotog.com. I love writing my weekly emails to you, but I have a whole nother email list to all of my Silver Paw Studio clients that I've met over the years. As soon as you can, start collecting emails. And I will go into this more in depth in the course, but just know that you need to start collecting emails. There's some great places to start, like MailChimp is free, and start with even once a month email. If people have opted in and said, yeah, I'd love to hear from you, send them things, because then they'll be like, oh, great, I heard from you. So gather these emails at your displays, at your events that you go to, wherever you're at, see how you can gather emails. There's something called an opt-in, like a freebie that you can send them, a guide or a PDF, something, anything like that. Now, with emails, I pretty much have the same content on my email as I did in the blog. So the point before this, the blog information also goes in the email with just some minor changes. So you could do 2 for 1 there. And then also in digital is podcasts and radio. Podcasts are also super easy to make. I have mine on anchor.fm, and I just restarted under the Pro Pet Photog name. There's a couple of episodes out at this point in fall of 2021, but I'll be adding that every week. So you could make your own. You could be on someone else's podcast. That is going to be the easiest for you. So if your area has a dog trainer that has a podcast, you can say, oh, that's really cool. Once those dogs learn to sit there, those people are going to really want to know how to take better pictures with their phone. Could I maybe be on your podcast? And let people know how to do that. Awesome. So it's even easier to be on other local podcasts. One of the people I know at the SBDC, he has a podcast. You never know, businesses, animal related, photography related, there's all kinds of ways you can be on someone else's podcast, or you can even create your own. Kind of the same for radio. So we have a local radio station that I used to be a co-host on, if you remember that, Critter Patter, and I was actually one of the hosts, but you could be a guest on the radio as well. And that station was very nice to let me repurpose those radio shows to be in my podcast. And that radio is a kind of a cool way to reach your local area. So consider radio. Enough about digital. We all spend way too much time in digital. Let's move on. The next one is what I'm just calling outreach. So outreach, there's a few different things. Event booths, if your area at this point in time is doing events like 5Ks, pet expos, family fun nights, things like that, you can have a booth at those. So at events, usually sign up for those at least a month in advance. So be looking on your calendar way ahead of time for event booths. You could donate a gift certificate. So gift certificates are really easy. If your local shelter has a gala once a year, they will likely call you and say, would you like to donate a gift certificate to our gala that people can bid on and win a session with you? Those are great. Those are goodwill. Those collaborate with the shelter or the rescue or the cause. And you can control whatever you put on that gift certificate. Cool, right? And especially if you're just starting out, do a bunch of those. Some people won't use them, but a lot will. Along the same line is sponsorships. So sponsorships are if you have a little extra money. And a lot of times it's the same kind of event like a gala, and you are a sponsor of that. So you're shouted out more often. You might be printed in the program. They might talk about you more in their newsletters on social media. So if you have a little extra cash and you would give this to your cause anyway, consider a sponsorship. This is also where your volunteer efforts come in. As you know, I do a lot of volunteering for the local shelters and causes, as you might do, and use this as an opportunity to market your business. You're doing your professional work for them as pro bono, and they're often very happy to give you a shout out on social media, let you put your watermark on the images, and you can share them over on your information too, whether it's printed or digital. And this actually came up in the Pro Putt Photog Facebook group this week. Should I put my watermark on there? Yes, I wholeheartedly say yes, unless you're creating these images specifically for a promotion material, something else that they're going to design, and then send them the photos and your PNG logo so they can put them together in the final design. And then lastly is collabs. Collabs can come in many different ways. Perhaps you can do a workshop with a couple of other animal-related businesses in your area. I did this a couple, 2-3 years ago now. A friend of mine has a pet-based business, and she would do talks at the local outdoor store, and I was able to give a talk there once. So collaborating on projects that other businesses have going on too, that you can give value to. The last category, remember I said prospecting? What's that? We don't talk about prospecting very much in the photography world. I hear it thrown around a lot in the real estate realm. Other companies like finance, all kinds of other types of industries, but never in photography. And I'm not really sure why, because it can have immediate results, especially if you've maybe been in business for 1 year, or you have some clients you can talk to, or you have some connections in your area. So what's prospecting? Prospecting is reaching out one-to-one with a specific individual. So far, I've been talking about marketing to organizations and your community, all those kind of things. This is one-to-one prospecting where you reach out to them. The very first one would just be your past clients. So what would this look like? For me, it would be, I photographed your puppy 6 months ago, and remember at the session, we said we wanted to do 1-year pictures. It's time. Are you ready to schedule? I have time in the next couple of weeks. I have gotten business doing that. I have. This could be, maybe you did a spring session and you told them at that session that in September you will create Christmas cards for their family or holiday cards. And so in September, you call them back and say, hey, we did your spring session and I'm creating Christmas or holiday cards now, and they're only this much. Would you like some? Very easy. For me, for business video and business photos, I just reach out to businesses I know and say, this is what I'm offering. Would you like to have a meeting? I'm not selling them right there and then, but I'm offering a meeting to tell them more about what I do. And so those would be people I already worked with. But I kind of combined two, reaching out to potential individual clients. So what might happen is you have someone who really follows everything you do on Instagram. They love all your reels, they make comments, they reach out to you and message you, and they say things like, oh, I'm about to get this puppy. I can't wait. I should. At some point, I'll call you for photos. Or, oh, in the fall, that would be so pretty to do with my dogs, but maybe now it's summer. These are the people that you may not have a really close relationship to, but once you see on Instagram, let's say that they've gotten their puppy, you can reach out and say, oh my gosh, you got your puppy. I cannot wait to meet him. We talked about doing a puppy session. Would you like to do a free planning meeting? And so this could be a way to reach out to potential clients who know you. If you're super brave, obviously you could reach out to people you don't know too. I just would rather do a warm welcome. Another way to do this prospecting is if you go to networking meetings. And so this is where you go with a group, you go meet a group of people, business people typically, and you make one-to-one meetings and you get to know them a little bit better. This doesn't always lead directly to sales, but it's not a bad idea. This kind of worked in the opposite direction for me. I had gone to a networking event and I met a company that does car wraps. And at the time I said, oh, I already have that on my car, but someday when I get a new car, I'll call you. 1 week later, I had to get a new car and I called her. And now my car has everything I need. I didn't have to look around. So this could work for you too. Consider networking events. And then like I mentioned, that will lead to one-to-one meetings. So part of the point of going to these bigger networking events, not only just collect their cards, but make an appointment with them. Say, hey, let's just you and I get together for a coffee. Let's talk about, I want to know more about your business. For instance, one person that I also met at that meeting does yoga on paddle boards. And she said, sometimes people bring dogs. I think that's fascinating. I would love to just get together with her. And then my name's out there. That's marketing. And then the last idea is super fun, is a model call. So this would be, you are offering a photo session on your terms. This is not if someone reaches out to you and says, could you do a free session for me? No. This is you say, hey, I want to know how to photograph puppies, right? Or giant dogs with children or something like that. And you go, I don't have any Labradors in my portfolio. Not sure why that would be the case, but let's just say, and you can put out a model call, usually to your digital people, and say, hey, I'm looking for people to do this. I have this many spots open. It's going to be this time and this location. So you decide the parameters. This is not a custom session. So you could say it's Saturday in 3 weeks at 9 o'clock at this location. And you could put parameters around that. Just be kind of careful on social media. If you put contests and things, I wouldn't recommend doing that. There's a lot of rules around that. But you could send this out to just your email list perhaps, or just insiders. So model calls are a way to grow your portfolio and get the word out about you. And maybe you sell prints to them after they get their free whatever you've offered. Okay. That was all of them. Let's count up how many we have, okay? 1, 2, 3, 10, 11, 12, 13, 16, 17, 21, 22, 23. Okay, we have 23 ideas for you. And I know there's a couple in here that you haven't thought of or that you could try right now. Hopefully this is the push that you need. I want to make one more note that marketing is not advertising. So advertising is a portion of your marketing. Kind of once you have some people that follow you, you can do some advertising to reach them. So we didn't cover advertising in this. This is strictly marketing efforts to get your name out there, potentially bring those clients in that we all want to reach, right? All right, this says that I've been recording over nearly half an hour. And this was going to be a 15-minute video. So I have a ton to say about this. Clearly, each one of those things has more that I'm going to talk about in the course. And so be sure to be watching for that. Look in the description. And then there'll be templates in there to make some of these things, to create some of these digital products, some of the printed products. There'll be templates for that too. And one more thing I want to tell you is don't be discouraged. So if you try one of these marketing things one time and it doesn't work, it doesn't mean it'll never work. It could be that it was the wrong timing, the wrong price, they didn't want that look. There's a lot of things that are factors in there. So try things at least 2 or 3 times before you ever give up on that type of marketing, okay? If you have more marketing ideas, type them in the comments below. We would all love to hear it. You can also join the conversation over on the Pro Pet Photog Facebook page or group, Facebook group. If you want to talk about any of these more in depth with me, of course, you can schedule a one-to-one or be part of the community center on propetphotog.com. Love to have you there. And be watching for the course with more and more details about all of these ideas coming out by November of 2021. All right, it's super hot in here. The air conditioning has been broken in the studio for most of the summer, and my water's gone, so we're done now. So as always, I wish you many woofs, purrs, and TREATS's.
I got your new toy. It's not Lammy, it's Elephant. Yeah.